So you've actually added to the. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday Tea Time for St Andrews Golf Magazine. This week I'm joined by Les Bailey of Pro Golf Now, and hopefully later on we'll be joined by Elizabeth Bethel, also of Pro Golf Now. This week we'll be discussing a range of topics, starting with Jimmy Walker and his success at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am and his 3 wins this season. We'll also be talking about Cheyenne Woods, her first win, getting out of the shadow of her more illustrious uncle, and previewing the LA Open, and talking about golf on TV. A few big contracts have been signed recently, and we'll be looking at that and seeing the changing landscape of golf on television across America and the UK. Starting with Jimmy Walker, a narrow win in the end, even though he took a 6-shot lead into the final round. But 3 wins in his mid-30s. It's quite an astonishing rise to prominence from nowhere, really.
Well, it sounds like he's getting some help from Butch Harmon. That I kind of browsed by an article today on Google News that says that Butch Harmon's taken some of the credit for actually working Jimmy's game back into championship form.
Well, he's certainly got a great track record, hasn't he? With whoever really he picks up, they tend to sort their faults out, but he doesn't change much really. Phil Mickelson's still the same sort of player that he was 20 years ago. Dustin Johnson hasn't changed much, so he just leaves them at their natural ability, but he'll spot faults and correct them. So it just allows the talent to come through, I think.
Yeah, that's the measure of a good coach, though, is one that just accepts what a guy has and tries to work with it,
Yeah, and it's pretty astonishing, really, to come from nowhere, really, and win 3 times this season, a huge lead in the FedEx Cup, and on the verge, really, if he wins a game, of pushing his way into the US Ryder Cup team for September.
He almost has to be considered even if he doesn't make it. I mean, he's playing well enough right now, where he should be drawing some consideration. He's not real popular yet, and I don't know if it's just his demeanor or his laid-back lifestyle, but he's not getting Jordan Spieth gets more press than Jimmy Walker does.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it is strange how maybe perhaps because he won his first couple of events, the tail end of last year, the start of this year, lesser spotlight on him, opposite some big events around the world, and I think really this win will push him into the prominence more than the other two.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it will, but I think in order for him to get the recognition that he really probably deserves, he's going to have to, go to Florida and play well there, and actually maybe make some noise in a couple of majors.
Yeah,
that's really where it's at. The PGA Tour doesn't really start until they go to Florida. That's when the good European Tour players are back in form, and everybody's ready to start looking at the Masters.
Yeah, sure. I mean, talking really about Florida, Rory McIlroy this week has resubmitted an entry to the Honda Classic. Last year, you remember, he pulled out halfway through the second round. He wasn't playing so well, toothache problems or whatever it was.
Yeah, but whatever.
But so he's trying to make up for that. But all of the top 8 in the world have entered that event already, the Honda Classic. It's quite an amazing start to the Florida swing this year.
Well, that between the Honda Classic and the Cadillac, those are 2 pretty premier events that get a lot of attention and have really strong fields and just really top-notch tournaments. So I can see him wanting to get back into the Honda Classic. I'm surprised that he didn't catch some flack about trying to get back in, but I guess if Rory McIlroy wants to play, he's going to play.
Yeah, and he's the world number 7. He's a past champion, so he can play anyway. But it is good to see that he's going back there. I remember a few years ago he pulled out in South Africa through food poisoning, which really was a serious ailment, but he's not returned to that event, which is a shame. But it's good to see he's entered that. He's also entered the Scottish Open the week before the Open this year at Royal Aberdeen. He's not played in the Scottish Open for quite a while, and maybe he thinks that it's good preparation for him to get that major championship. Last week, Cheyenne Woods, she won in the Australian Ladies Masters. It was her first career win. It's a big win for her. Third event on the Ladies European Tour, and it's really pushed her into the spotlight now for more reasons than just being the niece of Tiger Woods. I know from reading, she was quite annoyed by the fact that that's all she was known as. I walked around with her in qualifying for the Women's Open at Kingsbarns last year, and she seemed to have good swing, very good temperament, but her short game was badly lacking, I would say.
Yeah, I understand somebody's working with her, and I don't remember who. Unfortunately, Elizabeth's not with us, and she follows those two tours like with a microscope. So, but I thought I'd read or heard someplace, maybe it was on Morning Drive or something, that somebody has been working with her on her short game, and you know, the champions are built on short games. If you don't have a short game, you're not going to win many majors, you know.
No, it really showed around the links course the type of shots she tried to play, a high lob shot from a very difficult angle. The ball was just running away from her. She didn't have that sort of touch and feel and imagination. But I think obviously playing down in Australia, you need that. So she must have developed that certainly over the last 6 months or so.
Do you wonder if Uncle Tiger helped her out at all? Maybe gave her some pointers.
The way he started this year, maybe she needs to give him some pointers.
he still has a pretty good short game. It's just his driver that puts him in so many unrecoverable spots that he's struggling, you know. But the man has had a dynamite short game for most of his career.
Yeah, well, it certainly rescued him to a certain extent over the first round in Dubai, but
it did.
He isn't playing this week in the LA Open, which I think is a major disappointment. He's withdrawn from the Accenture match play. He's not played in the LA Open now since 2006, I think it is.
Yeah.
And that is the tournament that gave him that big break now 22 years ago. And it's a stellar field. You've got Dustin Johnson, Justin Rose returns from injury, Els, Goosen, who stays on Schwartzel, Bubba Watson, Westwood, Spieth, Keegan Bradley, Hunter Mahan, Kuchar and Furyk. It's a strong field.
And Jimmy Walker. And let's don't forget Jimmy Walker's in the field again.
Jimmy Walker as well. It's by far the strongest field anywhere this year. And Tiger really, I would say, if he's not going to play in the Accenture, he has to add an event somewhere. And what better place than the tournament he would surely want to win?
He doesn't like the golf course. The golf course is tough. I don't think he likes the Kikuyu grass. And now that he's the elder statesman in golf, if he doesn't want to play, he ain't gonna play someplace.
Yeah,
I think that's just exactly how he's looking at it.
Yeah, I think you're right, and maybe it's a fair thing for him to do that. But I just feel that he's triumphed at Pebble Beach in the US Open and the Pro-Am. He's won a lot in California. I just think that it's essentially his home tournament from where he grew up. So
he loves Torrey Pines. You know, that Torrey Pines is his baby, and I mean he's been successful there in the past, so that's where he likes to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a shame, but nevertheless, it's going to be a great field. No Phil Mickelson this year, but
yeah, Phil looked tired after toward the end of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am there. He looked at the point where he needed to get a bit of rest.
Yeah, and I saw an article today about him blaming his putting. He wasn't happy with his putting.
Yeah, oh, yeah, his putter just. I mean, he was hitting the ball pretty good all weekend. It just he couldn't get a putt to go in the hole.
Yeah.
I mean, he was down one day there to a scissor grip. He looked like Sergio Garcia left-handed, but
Well, that's quite amazing, really, considering he really is a great putter. Really, you would think of him as a great putter, I would say.
well, one of the questions I have for you, Matt, is were you impressed with Jordan Spieth's comeback on Sunday?
Unfortunately, I didn't see Sunday. I have to confess,
Well,
but
I mean, the kid absolutely uh, had a horrible Saturday. I mean, he three putted six greens, shot 78, worst round 18 holes he'd had in his career. But he come back on Sunday, shot 67, uh, got in the clubhouse with the clubhouse lead at 8 under par.
mhm. I
And
think
for a 20-year-old to turn his attitude around that quick and put up some good numbers, uh, impressed the heck out of me now.
yeah, and especially after what happened at Torrey Pines, where it really fell away um, over the weekend. He is showing a degree of maturity which you don't really see from many other youngsters, and he's coming back and he's finding that fight in him to produce a good performance on a very good golf course.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah,
I was impressed because I thought after I seen him, he finished up on Sunday morning. He finished up his third round at Pebble, and I thought, wow, he's just going to get in the field and cruise around and get a paycheck and go on
yeah,
to to Los Angeles. But he actually put together a pretty good run there, and I thought for a while there, I suspected that Jimmy Walker. I watched the whole thing, and then Jimmy Walker didn't look comfortable on Sunday, and blowing six shots on the back nine there. Uh, but fortunately, Dustin Johnson got in the clubhouse at 10 under with Jack Renner there,
yeah.
but Spieth still took home a nice paycheck. He finished tied for fourth uh, after shooting 78. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah, it is on a golf course like that. And you only have to think back to the start of last year when he was outside the top 1,000 in the world, and think where he is now. And now you think of him as one of the top players, certainly the top young players, the stars to come for the year. And so he's going to have these wobbles from time to time, but it's great to see that he's got that fight to come back from a bad round on Saturday
Yeah,
and produce. And yeah, I think this event has got good history for these sort of up and coming players,
yeah,
uh, as well as having a stellar role
I
model.
agree.
But I think he could have a very good chance this week, actually. Personally,
Well,
I
we'll
think
see.
he has got a good chance. But Ernie Els, he's a past champion as well, and I would say that he's sort of under the radar really. He played in Dubai, he missed the cut, but I think he's due another good week, and he's trying this shorter putter, this normal putter. It's slightly longer than standard, but it's not a belly putter.
Yeah.
Um, and I think you could see him contend this week. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised.
The one I'm curious to see this week is Justin Rose. Justin Rose is playing for the first time in what, a couple of months,
Yeah,
and I was surprised to see him ranked at 14th on PGA Tour.com's power rankings.
yes, yeah, I
Uh,
read that shortly time ago, and well, maybe I would say that because he's come back from injury, it's not the easiest golf course to come back from when you've been off.
no,
Um,
I even mentioned that in the blog. I said he picked kind of a tough golf course to come back on, but he's had two top 15 finishes there, and I mean he plays well there, so
yeah,
may- maybe if he's just looking for a place to scrape some of the rust off before they go east, it might not have been such a bad idea.
no, it's a good idea to come back, and that's really where Luke Donald started his terrific 2011. Actually, he played there. He had a long layoff, came back, and played really well from then on. Really.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it's probably a good decision. But as I said, it's an incredible field on a magnificent golf course. One of my favourite events in America. So certainly be
Hogan's
watching
Alley.
this week. Um,
Hogan's Alley.
yeah,
One of
one of
Hogan's
many.
alleys. One of Hogan's alleys.
Yeah. Today, Donald Trump acquired yet another property around the world, Doonbeg Golf Club, as it was known. It's now going to be Trump International Golf Links Ireland. It's 50 miles from Limerick on the west coast of Ireland. Amazing place, Greg Norman designed golf course, and he just continues to acquire these amazing properties. It's incredible to see his investment in the game.
Well, my question with him is what kind of a piss up is he having with the Scottish government over the wind machines? I mean that's kind of put a little bit of a damper on his investments in Scotland, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, the hotel is still not. I don't think it's even started being constructed, but the golf course has been open now, I think, for 18 months or so. And obviously, it's self-titled the greatest golf course in the world, but I have heard a lot of very good reviews about it. It really is what they say it is, apparently. But yeah, the hotel.
What's his complaint with the wind machines?
Well, I think he's saying
they're unsightly, or
yeah, that's what he would say. I don't agree. I mean, you have to strike a balance between a golf course and protecting the world. So I would say that it doesn't really matter, but I think possibly he doesn't want them because obviously the views from the private houses that he's going to build and holiday homes and the hotel. So maybe he thinks it will harm the image of his property, but he's been through so much to go this far. So he'd have to really think about it, I suppose, whether he wants to continue. But to get Doonbeg, as I say, it's quite remote, and it was struggling financially, but it's apparently a very, very good golf course. Greg Norman design. Already has a 212-bedroom hotel, so I don't know what more investment he can put into the place to make it.
How far is it from Shannon?
I know it's 50 miles from Limerick. I'm not sure how far from Shannon.
Because most of the flights into Ireland that are what you would call sightseeing type flights go into Shannon from the U.S. and so I was just curious. I spent quite a bit of time in Ireland back in the early 90s, but I didn't spend any time over on the west side.
No, I've never been down to the west side, but that's where a lot of their great golf courses are, and clearly he's going to try and make this really, really successful. I saw another article earlier this week, Gil Hance, talking about the Olympic golf course and how he says he'd hope that Donald Trump could come down to Rio, and then it would definitely get built.
Well, he's definitely ready for the Cadillac next month. Though Doral is supposedly done. Gil Hance come down there and redesigned that, and so it's ready to go.
Yeah, the pictures look amazing. The first hole totally different. It's back to what it was, the Blue Monster. So his investment there has been successful.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving on to our final topic this evening, and yesterday Sky Sports in the UK signed a 7-year extension to their existing contract with the PGA Tour through till 2022, and their coverage is going to be enhanced greatly. They're going to offer an interactive service where we can watch coverage of selected groups featuring European players, special holes covered, and also they're actually going to be present at an expanded number of events throughout the year, up to 31 events throughout the year Sky will be present at, which is great for the UK viewer because you get closer to the action, you get more tailored coverage to the audience, and it keeps golf. Sky have pretty much all the golf in the UK, and it just keeps it in a familiar place for viewers. Sky is actually well, it's owned by News Corporation, which also own Fox. Now, Fox last August, quite controversially in some regard, they were announced as the new partner for the USGA. Now, obviously, Les, you cover NASCAR, and Fox cover NASCAR, don't they? And so
Well, they just started the what is it, NASCAR One or Fox One Sports NASCAR. So, and this is their first. In fact, I'm sitting watching NASCAR today. I'm not listening like I should be, but I've got it on the TV right now.
So what do you think? From my view, I would say that Fox are going to be a great partner for the USGA, and I think for golf, I think they're something different, like they were with American football back in the mid '90s. Are they quite a good broadcaster? Do you think it'll be a success?
Well, it's like everything else. If they, and I was going to ask a question on that. Are they just going to cover events in the UK, or are they going to cover all the European Tour events?
No, Fox are going to cover the US Open, the US Women's Open, and the US Senior Open.
No, I'm talking about Sky Sports.
No, Sky will be covering all the PGA Tour events. So, as they have done now for the last 20 years, they'll be covering all of them, and they'll be present at the majority of them.
So, but the increased coverage, does it include the rest of the European Tour, or?
Well, they've already got the European Tour, so they'll be covering that. But the increased coverage comes from where they'll be showing coverage of selected groups on PGA Tour events.
On their website or on the television?
On the website and television.
Okay.
So
good. Yeah, the PGAtour.com does a lot of that, covering like the Masters. They'll set up on Amen Corner, and you can go to the internet and watch the groups play through those, and they'll cover segments that people are really interested in.
Yeah, and also this week, something which I think could be a real success story. The Ladies European Tour broadcast the last 2 rounds of the Australian Masters on YouTube. Didn't get many viewers, obviously, because of the time of day, but I think there's a real opportunity. It's obviously free. YouTube aren't up for paying massive fee for rights. It's something which actually could grow women's golf, especially around the world and in this country, dramatically.
Yeah, we get a lot of times here. We get, of course, the Golf Channel broadcasts everything. Sometimes it's on time delay because. And they will broadcast it in real time if you want to get up at 2 in the morning and watch it, But they tend to bring it back in prime time so that you can, 10, 11 in the morning, where if you want to watch something that happened in Australia, you can see it.
Yeah, and I think the internet, the thing with YouTube is it can connect. Certainly, for example, the Ladies European Tour can connect with an audience that's very similar to their target market. A young, vibrant, on the move sort of audience, and I think that's the way forward, personally.
I don't understand why the LPGA doesn't do that. Just set up at a tournament for some good holes and have it available on streaming on the internet. Because people like to watch that.
Yeah, and I think something I saw an interview with Mike One, actually, and he was saying about how their broadcast coverages go great, more viewers around the world, and I was thinking, I wanted to knock on the screen and say hello, because we don't have it in this country, which is absolutely remarkable. I mean,
yeah,
to not see that first event in the Bahamas or the event at where is it, in San Diego? I've forgotten the name.
San Diego.
Yeah.
You talking about Phoenix?
No, the event in Carlsbad, the Kia Classic.
Oh, yeah, the Kia Classic.
Yeah. We don't see that. We don't see. We only see the majors and a handful of other tournaments. So I think that it's a shame, really, and I think YouTube is a good way forward of showing it, and they wouldn't have to get some company to pay millions of dollars to do so. So and they can recoup the money through advertising. So,
Well, that's a good point. I think possibly the UK suffers from the same thing we do in the States here, is not having a bona fide superstar with some charisma that's up in the on the leaderboard every week.
yeah,
That's something that Cheyenne Woods could do, is if she could get hot and make a few majors, that would put some butts in the seats here, and for the
definitely.
LPGA,
Yeah, we need somebody. I've obviously got Charlie Hull, which in 4 or 5 years' time she could be the real deal.
Yeah, you need
And
somebody that's got some charisma, good, that's nice to look at, and winning golf tournaments. Somebody to unseat the South Koreans.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's going to be a hard task. So it's another great week in golf coming up. LA Open on the PGA Tour is the main real feature. The Australian Women's Open as well, and the Africa Open in South Africa. But really, I mean, that's it for this week, I would say. And this will be back next week, same time, same place, hopefully joined by Elizabeth and John, if John's back from his holiday.
Holiday?
So, yeah, he's on holiday.
You guys have more holidays over there than anybody.
Okay, well, we'll see you all again next week. From myself, Matt Hooper, and from Les, it's goodbye.
All right, good night. Cheers.
Yeah.